We close every day by asking our reporters to share a little bit from their notebooks, get you out ahead of the big political news just around the corner. Manu?
John, Republicans in Congress have mostly fallen in line behind Donald Trump since he was elected president. But there's one faction that is creating some problems, and probably problems are starting to come. Those are the libertarian-minded members of the House and Senate Republican conferences. People like Justin Amash of Michigan, who have criticized Trump for some of the deals that he believes are picking winners and losers in the economy, like that carrier deal that he announced late last year. But even Republican Rand Paul creating problems for the Senate Republican leadership, saying that he's going to vote against the pending budget that would pave the way to repeal Obamacare because it increases deficit spending, and Paul himself, talking to Donald Trump, trying to convince him to replace Obamacare on the same day it is repealed. That is a strategy that Republican leadership does not want to do. So watch for that faction to be potentially problematic for Republican leaders and Donald Trump.
The governing part gets interesting. Julie?
Well, we've been talking about the confirmation of cabinet picks. We learned last week that Donald Trump's team has taken an unusual hard line against allowing the political appointees that President Obama has in place serving as ambassadors around the world to stay even a day after the inauguration. What's also true is that they're finding it somewhat challenging to recruit ambassadors for these positions overall. And so the question is, will they be left without envoys in key places throughout the world? And also, it raises questions about who is Donald Trump going to turn to take some of these important posts in countries that have really vital relationships with the United States.
You probably just created some volunteers out there with that reporting. Jackie?
I mean, some of the Trump nominees might not have their paperwork in, but the Trump team is saying that they're ready for these hearings. They've had 30 practice hearings, 15 the first week of January. They've been subjected to some 2,600 questions, and they've had 70 hours in mock hearings. So while they know these are going to be contentious, but they're making sure that their people are ready for whatever's thrown at them.
Well, we'll be listening for the answers, especially on those big policy questions. Sarah?
Oh, let's just talk about the irony for a second. Donald Trump spent the entirety of President Obama's presidency questioning whether he was born in the United States, which of course many saw as an effort to delegitimize America's first black president. Well, now people close to Donald Trump say they would be surprised if we ever see him fully acknowledge that Russia hacked U.S. political institutions, that they attempted to interfere in the U.S. election. And this is because Donald Trump sees this as one thing, which is an effort to delegitimize his victory. He believes that this is all a political ploy, and he is so competitive that he doesn't want to give an inch on this subject. He doesn't want to even hint that there is any possibility that he could be president because of some sort of outside influence. Now, if he appreciates the irony in this, there is really no indication. I spoke to someone who's close to him, and I sort of compared the two situations, and in terms of the questions about Obama's birthplace, he said, that's all behind us now.
Oh, it's all behind us now. I'll close with both a trivia question and an observation. First, the question. When was the last time the United States had back-to-back-to-back two-term elected presidents? And what's the big difference this time? The last time? The early 1800s, when Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe each served 2 terms. It took until 1992 to begin the new streak. Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. One big difference? Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, all from the same party. They called it the Democratic Republicans in those days. And they were all also from Virginia. The more recent streak went Democrat to Republican and back to Democrat, and from Arkansas to Texas to Illinois. Control of the Congress swung back and forth over the most recent streak, too, as Americans seemed to favor stability in the White House, but also divided government. A new all-Republican chapter begins on those steps next Friday. We'll see how long it lasts. Just a reminder, want to understand the new Washington? Tune in tonight, a CNN special town hall. Former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders sits down with Chris Cuomo to answer questions about how Democrats will work with and at times against the Trump administration. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on CNN. Thanks for watching. See you back here tomorrow. Wolf Blitzer with us after a quick break.